We've all seen the images in the media of the last few weeks of desperate migrants making their way across Europe, of burning tyres on French motorways, and migrants climbing into trucks hoping to reach the UK. However, the media's version of events in no way tells the whole story. My direct involvement in the Calais crisis began in June when I received an email from a constituent who worked in the haulage industry. It read, "The situation in Calais is very dangerous and many of our drivers have been threatened. The migrants are running amok and there seems to be a press blackout on how dangerous it is for British drivers. Please help." I'd seen the pictures of the migrants trying to climb into the trucks, but I'm a believer that to fully understand the situation, you have to see it for yourself. So as a hands-on kind of guy, I made the decision to ride along with the truck driver and see exactly what was happening to British hauliers in Calais. Now, while I expected this trip to be no holiday, I had no idea what was to come. In the course of my first and 3 subsequent trips to northern France, I would be threatened with a gun, disturbed a group of migrants cutting through the tunnel fence, get tear-gassed in a riot, come face to face with people traffickers, be surrounded by gangs of migrants wielding crowbars as I sat helpless in a truck, and end up climbing the fence to the Eurotunnel twice because one national newspaper didn't believe I could have done it the first time. However, I must admit, climbing the fence was quite amusing, as one social media user even accused me of climbing the fence in my back garden. Now, I only wish my house was big enough to have a fence that size. But even this had a serious point. If a 61-year-old man could easily scale the fence of the Eurotunnel, then so could many of the fit young migrants who can be seen roaming the streets of Calais in their thousands. To be honest, what I found in Calais shocked me to the core, and I couldn't quite believe the dangers British hauliers were facing. Here is a short video of what I found. Well, at the moment, the camp, which they call the jungle, has about 5,000 plus migrants in. At the ferry port, as I've seen, inside, once you're inside the ferry port, it's quite safe. The problem with Calais is outside of that fence. That fence only runs for about 1 kilometre.
Just recently it's gone beyond belief. I've had people on my truck roof, I've had people on my trailer roof, I've been threatened with bars. It's a terrifying place to be.
It's absolutely horrendous. I've been doing this job now 40 years and this is the worst I have ever seen it.
A couple of months ago I came down this very road here into Calais, joined the back of the queue, tried to get off at this junction and basically said to the immigrants, "Don't get in me, I'm coming off." He must have then taken that the wrong way and produced an iron bar. And his mate at the side of him, he produced a cricket bat and that was it. I just managed to sneak out the queue just in time. It's just crazy.
All these lorries have just been, and as you can see, there's a group of immigrants. They're out of all these lorries here, look. We don't stand a chance. I ain't never coming here again.
The fencing that's surrounding that track isn't of the same substantial fence that we see at the ferry port. It's about a 6 foot high single span fence, and it's easily broken, it's easily breached, and it's easily cut through. As you've just seen in the film, the situation in northern France is totally out of control, and politicians on both sides of the English Channel and the EU are still floundering around for a response. It took the Home Secretary weeks to eventually go see the jungle in Calais, and I doubt when she did finally arrive, her experience was anything like mine. Sadly, Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, has been nowhere near. All we have had from him is a pronouncement that the migrants of Calais are Britain's problem. We'll give the man a medal for his leadership. So let me make one thing clear. I have every sympathy for the genuine refugees fleeing war-torn countries. But unlike what the BBC and other news media organisations will have you believe, many of those I saw sleeping rough in Calais and the rest of northern France were not refugees fleeing Syria, northern France refugees fleeing Syria, Afghanistan or Iraq. Instead, the vast majority, over 90% of my estimation, were Eritreans, Somalis, Sudanese, Pakistan and Nigerians. Many of these people are not refugees. Instead, they are economic migrants with no legal right to enter the UK. But who are determined to come here anyway. And despite the BBC featuring children in much of their coverage, there were very few to be found in Calais. However, there are thousands of young men, many aged between 20 to 35, roaming the streets, sitting in makeshift camps that boast shops, churches, mosques, and a nightclub, waiting for their chance to get to Britain. I even asked one migrant what he would do if the French gave him a passport. His answer was come to Britain, as his wife was already here, having already made the trip on the back of a truck. And in their desperation to get to the UK, the migrants think nothing of cutting their way into trucks at massive cost to our haulage companies, or cutting the fences and climbing onto the tracks of the Eurotunnel. It must be remembered these are criminal acts, and that if you or I attempted, would see us go to prison. The situation is in fact now so bad that many hauliers have pulled out of using Calais altogether. On my first trip, it was easy to spot a British trucker. Today, there are very few to be found. While I did meet a few genuine refugees, the vast majority of the people I met were economic migrants, many of whom were already deep in the clutches of the organised gangs of people traffickers, who operate openly across the whole of northern France. Travelling from Cherbourg to Zeebrugge to assess the situation, I came face to face with the various forms of people trafficking. In Caen, I spoke to women working the red light district who could not speak French, but who could communicate in broken English. In Dieppe, I watched as Albanian people traffickers openly joked with security guards before scaling the fences into the port, looking to hide migrants on trucks that had already cleared security. And at truck stop in Calais, I saw migrants being herded from one truck to another and watched as gangs of well-dressed men on mobile phones who organised the illegal entry into the Eurotunnel. And as you saw in the first film, in Dunkirk, I came face to face with a man carrying a handgun as I walked into the EU-funded migrant camp that one French charity worker said was dominated by the English mafia. As it turned out, the traffickers were not English and were actually Albanians driving British registered cars who would stop at nothing to protect their vile trade. The The simple fact is, this trade in human misery is widespread and is only going to get worse as hundreds of thousands of migrants make their way across Europe, looking to reach what they think is British utopia. The port in Calais, while now protected behind miles of fencing, is still struggling to cope with the sheer numbers of migrants. And despite every truck checked, only 1 in 20 cars and caravans comes under scrutiny. And the smaller ports are already feeling the effects of this fast-moving problem. The sad fact is, this problem is not going to go away anytime soon. However, the most worrying aspect for me as UKIP defence spokesman is the reports we have of Islamic State terrorists now operating in the camps of Calais. In March, Islamic State warned they were going to send thousands of fighters to Europe, and it seems their promise has been fulfilled. Only last week, the Director General of MI5 said the UK now faces the gravest threat we have seen since the attacks of 9/11, due to the threat posed by Islamic State. How long is it going to be before one of the many attacks that have failed this year succeeds? So what role does the EU play in all this? After all, they are the ones who open the borders of Europe. They are the ones who fail to enforce their own rules on migration and asylum, a situation that has allowed migrants from across the globe to cherry-pick which country they wish to stay in. They are the ones who refuse to take responsibility and stop this crisis at source. And they are the ones who demand that the UK take unlimited number of migrants from other EU states, leaving our public services creaking, our housing stock in crisis, and our country struggling to honour its long-standing tradition of helping those in true need. The EU will throw open the borders and will let another 120,000 migrants into Europe, totally unchecked. When Jean-Claude Juncker said the migrant crisis was the UK's problem, he was, in a sense, right. The migrant crisis is only a symptom of the wider-ranging political disease that the EU represents. Now is the time to reject the dictatorial EU project that threatens our heritage, our traditions, and our way of life. Now is the time to regain control of our own borders and make our own decisions on the security of our nation. And now is the time to put an end to the situation where our own elected politicians must ask how high every time the EU say jump. Conference, I say to you, let's get our country back. Vote for exit. Thank you.